فإن آمنوا بمثل ما آمنتم به فقد اهتدوا وإن تولوا فإنما هم في شقاق.
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. So inshallah tabarak ta'ala has been put out and advertised that for the next couple of weeks that we hope to do some matters regarding Ilm Al-Hadeeth as a form of introduction to Ilm Al-Hadeeth, as referred to as Ilm Mustalah. And this is of those sciences, of the science of the order that I've given a lot of attention, and so kind of somewhat to have a better understanding regarding Ilm Al-Hadeeth or Hadith in general. This is also of those things that one should be mindful of. So today we'll give some introduction, some history, and then we'll see as to how far we can go regarding of the those mabahith of Ilm Al-Hadeeth, inshallah ta'ala. So of those things to bear in mind regarding that Ilm Al-Hadeeth, as we know it, or Mustalah, as to be discussed. The word that is used is Mustalah, the more common term that is used, but this is something which is more of the ulama of latter time using concerning Ulum Al-Hadith, or as referring to Al-Mustalah. So that's more for more contemporary or more latter day time. But regarding this ilm concerning Ulum Al-Hadith, concerning the science of Hadith, then what we'll be going through concerning what is mentioned or covered in the books of Mustalah, I can somewhat go into four main things to that will be addressed within these books of Mustalah or regarding Ilm Al-Hadith. The first of those things to the person to be familiar with and to understand regarding one concerning the Mustalah Al-Hadeeth. So the ulama of Hadith, these mustalahat that they use, so these understanding these mustalahat that are used by the ulama of Hadith. What does this word, when we say the word is Hadith is Sahih, what does that mean? And what also comes with this? What is the Hadith al-Daif? What is Hadith al-Mursal? What is Hadith al-Munqata? And all these different terminology, al-Mursal, what is Ashadh, and the likes. So understanding the general mustalahat, the terminology of the ulama of Hadith. So when you read their books, you understand these terms as to what those ulama of Hadith, what they actually intend by the uses of these words. Because the word, sometimes we mention, the word sunnah in different sciences carry different meaning. So when you see the word sunnah in different books, depending on that science, you have to take that into consideration. Just give it just one plain meaning. But the ulama of Hadith, the word for them, sunnah, carry a certain meaning. The word sunnah with ulama of usul al-fiqh carry a certain meaning. The word sunnah for the ulama of aqeedah have a certain meaning. So this one word in various sciences take a different meaning. So when you have to understand the terminology of those ulama when they write in their particular science. Another aspect of Ilm Al-Hadith, the second aspect of Ilm Al-Hadith, is regarding that the person, when he has studied Ilm Al-Hadith, that of those things to be understood concerning Ilm Al-Isnad, Osnas Sanad. So generally concerning of Ilm Al-Hadith, of those areas to be covered, the person having a learning regarding this matter concerning Al-Isnad or Sanad, which is regarding the Hadith. So as the Hadith is in two parts, you have the Sanad and the Matan. So the Sanad is the narrators and other aspect that relates to that particular aspect of the Hadith. So understanding the Isnad and what relates to matter concerning the Isnad. The third of those things to be covered regarding this particular science is regarding concerning our understanding concerning Ilm Al-Rawat. Regarding to study and understand regarding matters related to Rawat, the narrators. That is referred to as Ilm Al-Jarh wa Ta'deel. So this ilm of Jarh wa Ta'deel of Ruwat, known concerning the Ruwat, what's the condition to accept a narration from a narrators and the likes. So those things also would be looked into and would be covered in Ilm al-Hadith. Then also of the fourth of those other things to be covered in Ulum al-Hadith or Ilm al-Hadith, Usul al-Hadith, is also matter relating to Mustalahat al-Isnad, of the more complex of the science concerning Ilm al-Ilal, which is a more complex area within Ilm al-Hadith. Now many of the ulama, they said have excel in this particular science, Ilm al-Ilal. So it's more of the more complex within the science of Ilm al-Hadith, where Ilm al-Ilal concerns a person of being able to detect errors within the hadith that may not be apparent to others. Now, so it requires the person I've read extensively regarding al-hadith, the isnad, and known the ruwat and the level of the ruwat, many things to be factored in regarding this matter. But it's of the more complex of the matters regarding the science of Ilm al-Hadith. So Ilm al-Mustalah, Ilm al-Hadith we covered, it comprises of all those four things put together. Give a person a general rounded view of the science. And then to take it to the next level, we'll be covering concerning matter regarding in a basic level, not in depth, as there's other things to be covered that can go somewhat in depth. Just as we have mentioned, identify regarding that, and each ulum have gone through different stages regarding its development. So each ulum, each science of Islam have gone through a certain stages regarding its development. Ilm al-Hadith, the same thing. So Ilm al-Hadith regarding that, various ulama might somewhat, in looking at Ilm al-Hadith, might try to put the stages into either different stages. Some 2 stages regarding its development and how it came in to be mean the history of the science, or the history historically regarding the science, regarding how it developed and came into being, regarding concerning that some put in the 3 different stages. And for those who, for example, so like Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah, that in his book Nuzha An-Nazar Shar Nukhbatul Fikr, that he wrote, Hafidullah or Rahimahullah, that he wrote, that he kind of somewhat wrote a beginner level regarding Ilm al-Hadith, and then also he went on to explain it himself. But after seeing that he mentioned regarding concern that the development of Ilm al-Hadith, the development of Ilm Mustalah Al-Hadeeth, development of Ilm Mustalah Al-Hadeeth or Usul Al-Hadith. And he can somewhat mention regarding concerning that Ilm al-Hadith, more so regarding from the stage regarding it being looked at as a science mustaqillah, regarding becoming an independent science where books are written specifically surrounding that topic, that's purely about that topic or to some degree. So that's concerning that Ilm al-Hadith is development based upon of the early books and different books wrote regarding explaining and trying to explain, to discuss the matters pertaining to Ilm al-Hadith based upon books written specifically on that topic. So you can look at it from that aspect, as Ibn Hajar will mention that, and also you can look at Ilm al-Hadith regarding its development, that Ilm al-Hadith how it started initially, this science, that it started where Mustalah Al-Hadith or Ilm al-Usul Al-Hadith started by way of books, Ilm al-Hadith being mentioned in other books, not as a separate science, but also included in other books or writings. With me? So if I
give an example.
For example, that as an example of those Kutub al-Sitta, or some of the books of Hadith that was written in early days, that the author, that he included aspect of Ilm al-Hadith. For example, Sahih Muslim, the book of Imam Muslim rahimahullah. Imam Muslim, his book is in 2 parts. Imam Muslim book is in 2 parts. So the book of Imam Muslim, Sahih Muslim, is in two parts. He has an introduction, a muqaddimah, an intro, that he covers aspect of ilm al-hadith. And that will cover some of the matters relating to the science of hadith. Then you have the actual book itself that covers matters concerning iman, salat, and all concerning narrating hadith as was intended. So that concerns, we say that's the main body of the book. The main body of the book of Imam Muslim rahimahullah. So this part, to the extent that the introduction, muqaddimah of Imam Muslim rahimahullah, is not said to be on the same condition as the main body of the book. So the main body, everything that is mentioned, supposed to according to Imam Muslims to be authentic. This is not the case with this aspect of the book. But it's one book, an introduction that he covers concerning matters regarding ilm al-hadith, verifying, checking out the narrators, some of the matters concerned. But then he has the main body, which is the main part of the book. So both are either on two separate conditions. This part, everything according to him is authentic. This part, not necessarily the case. As is the introduction to bring the person, before you go into my book, you be aware. I want to introduce you to some of the mustalahat and matters of hadith that you should be familiar with somewhat. That's the introduction. So I've said that of the ulama who took that method of discussing matters of ilm al-hadith in their book. Another, Imam At-Tirmidhi rahimahullah. So you have two others, Imam Abu Dawood As-Sajistani or Imam At-Tirmidhi, Abu Isa At-Tirmidhi. So Abu Isa At-Tirmidhi rahimahullah and Abu Dawood, Imam At-Tirmidhi, he has another book that he wrote. And of his book, they said Al-Jami', Kitab Al-Jami', or they say As-Sunan At-Tirmidhi, but Al-Jami', more proper. That Imam At-Tirmidhi rahimahullah, at the end of his book, at the end, he wrote Kitab Al-Ilal, As-Saghir, that discussed concerning some matters regarding ilm al-hadith, but he mentioned at the back, at the end of his book. So he mentioned all the books concerning Al-Jami', all the hadith regarding different matters. Then at the end, he mentioned something regarding Al-Ilal, Ilal Al-Saghir as we refer to. Now, that covers some matters concerning ilm al-hadith and also Al-Ilal Al-Kabir. But these books, Ilal Al-Saghir is attached to Al-Jami', and Ilal Al-Kabir became an independent book, a separate book, but both discussing matters concerning ilm al-hadith by Imam At-Tirmidhi rahimahullah. Now, so that is Imam Muslim at the introduction, the beginning, Imam At-Tirmidhi rahimahullah at the end. Imam Abu Dawood As-Sajistani, in his book As-Sunan, he also has an introduction to he wrote a book, Risala ila Ahli Mecca, where he wrote a Risala to Ahli Mecca to give some idea regarding his book that he wrote. And he discussed concerning some matter regarding ilm al-hadith within that book. But that was a separate independent book from his As-Sunan. Is that clear? Clear? Yeah. So some ulama pass of, so that initially ilm al-hadith was being discussed. The book of Imam Ash-Shafi'i rahimahullah, Al-Risala. He discussed aspects concerning ilm al-hadith. Because a book in Usul al-Fiqh, and Usul al-Fiqh also it overlap with some matters of ilm al-hadith. With me? So for example, Usul al-Fiqh, books of Usul al-Fiqh, as I said, books of Usul al-Hadith, they will cover these, I said, of these books of Mustalah, as they refer to it as. Now, it will go over into these four main topics. Now, and expand. Ilm al-Usul al-Fiqh is the same thing. It kind of somewhat would cover four main areas. Now, of those things, and some of those things overlap ilm al-Hadith, so in Usul al-Fiqh, they will cover concerning, which is not the real topic here, but they will discuss concerning of those things, Masadir al-Tashri'ah. So of the things would be covered in ilm Usul al-Fiqh, Masadir al-Tashri'ah. What are the sources of Tashri'ah, of legislation? And once we want to legislate a matter, Shar'an, according to Islamic law, what are the sources that we can use as a reference or go back to say halal and haram, wajib, not wajib, mubah, whatever the ruling is. So the sources for this, of the sources would be Al-Quran, wa Sunnah, wal Ijma, and others. and others. Now, but the Sunnah will be one of the sources of Tashri'ah. So in discussing in Usul al-Fiqh regarding the matter relating to of the sources of Islam as Sunnah, then they will discuss some matters relating to Ilm al-Hadith. Just as of the other topics in Usul al-Fiqh we discuss concerning al-Ijtihad wa taqleed. What is the sifat of the person who can pass Islamic judgment and ruling? What's the criteria of an alim? Even the word, they don't use the word alim in the books of Usul al-Fiqh. Now they use the word mujtahid or mufti. Now that type of language. So they will give you criteria regarding what's the criteria for a mufti. Of the criteria, he must be able to distinguish between hadith al-sahih wa da'if. And I've studied hadith. Are you not allowed to give fatwa? If you haven't gone through certain books and understand, even though those criteria are there, in practicality today, if we were to apply these ruling, those conditions, and many, it wouldn't apply to them. We'll have few people that we can say are of the criteria if we were to go according to the book. With me? So the general thing that we're going back to concern that Ilm al-Hadith, it started, you could put it in two ways. Books that were what that was a matter concerning that Ilm al-Hadith, that initially it started to be discussed as a science, but was recorded in here and there. Not as a separate subject, it was then included within other sciences or in other books, but not something separate. Then efforts then start to be made regarding then putting Ilm al-Hadith as a separate independent science. Now, and that's what Ibn Hajar rahimahullah al-Asqalani in Al-Nuzha, that he can somewhat, as the introduction of the book, he can somewhat discusses this. So to give the person who look into hadith, give concern an historical background regarding how this science came into existence, and what were the efforts, and how it is up until, said Ibn Hajar, how it is up until our time, where the science is still being discussed and studied. And what are the books that are considered to be the main books regarding Ilm al-Hadith? So a person said, okay, we said today we find people said, okay, if you say that you have studied Hadith, if you haven't gone over these 4 areas, then you still haven't done anything. You have just gone through a few terminologies or a few qawaid, but then you are not qualified still enough to say anything, because you have just touched that entire from 1 to 100. If you don't know 1 and 2 and 3, you still haven't learned how to count properly, fully, because you can't count up to 100. So because you know 1 and you know 2 doesn't mean you can count, because you can't go beyond 2. So the person who studied regarding Ilm al-Hadith, discussing this matter concerning Ilm al-Hadith, Usul al-Hadith will give you a background regarding what is included in this science. And if you have gone through in any science from A to Z, then be careful of what you say in any matter, because this matter is not our property. It's a matter regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Islam, preserving Islam. That's the purpose of Ilm al-Hadith and all the science, is to preserve Islam as it was revealed, without any corruption or people adding or subtracting. So when a person talks about Ilm al-Hadith, I want to go into our discussion about Ilm al-Hadith. The first question to ask, have you studied any book from the beginning through to the end? Then don't pull me this page or this sentence from here and there, because I cannot get into a discussion with you because you don't know what's before that sentence and after it. And you don't know what may overlap with it and what may not relate to it. With me? So all the sciences, so all of this concerning Ilm al-Hadith, we said, are those 4 areas will be covered in Ilm al-Hadith. Mustalahat of the ulama, and certain time they may choose one word and it may have X amount of meaning with this alim, with that alim, of the ulama of the past, as they are the ones who set the pace. Ahmad al-Hanbal, Imam al-Bukhari, Imam Muslim, they become the one that we look to them to see what were the terminology and that they use, and how they kind of somewhat regarding that how they help in the development of the science and their contribution, and they are the ones who become the main contributors They become the reference point. Not people come way after. So they might use a word in a particular way. What does he intend when he used this word? So this now coming to, so something that's why you might find differences concerning certain terminology, because in the early stage, some of the ulama might use a particular word in a particular way, but that become known with them until everything became codified. And even today we might do this, that somebody's mabahith, somebody's like areas of study regarding hadith is still under discussion, still being studied as an independent science. An example, there's a research paper as either PhD thesis that discuss only Hadith al-Hasan. Only Hadith al-Hasan, not per se, that's as the masahil related to this of within Ilm al-Hadith, concerning Hadith Hasan. 5 volumes. 5 volume. And that's what I'm saying, in this book, it could be 4 pages. But that's 5 volumes. You understand? And I will discuss concerning that every of the different areas that are covered in the hadith. Some say it's about 100 different anwa, different types of areas relating to ilm al-hadith. Each of them is a separate science by itself and its own set of books. And you could fill this masjid and downstairs with just books of hadith. And those are the ones that are in print. Forget about the ones who are not yet in print. You with me? So it's so when we talk about these sciences of Islam, we should not per se, we most of the time we speak not understanding the gravity of the science and the effort and the seriousness. Now, so you find that people say ilm al-jarh wa ta'dil. Do you actually know what this actually entails? It's not as a slogan to be used, or hadith sahih. It's not as a slogan. It means something and carry consequence relating directly back to the deed. So says that ilm al-hadith is to give someone to put things in certain type of perspective regarding some of these matters, so the person can somewhat appreciate the science of ilm al-hadith, and also help the person to understand how to study this science. And also the main objective of the person, if he can at some point distinguish between what's a hadith sahih and what is not. What we can say attach back to the Prophet Islam in a way which is authentic, sahih or maqbool, and what is not. Now, so Ibn Hajar rahimahullah regarding the different works and efforts regarding developing this science, now we'll discuss that aspect, which it says now, Tariq al-Tadween Kutub Usul al-Hadith. What are some of the main books or the books? So Ibn Hajar rahimahullah when he mentions of those books and those works related to this, of the first of those works, that is said to have started a process regarding those books relating to Ilm al-Hadith, specifically, or Mustalah, as referred to. As I said that even some of these words, Mustalah Al-hadeeth, as I said, people say Mustalah. This is more something which is more for latter day time. The ulama before in the past didn't per se use Mustalah, meaning Usul al-Hadith, but something that came on later on. Of those things that he mentioned, of those who were involved in the first start of the process, a book that is called Muhaddith الفاصل بين I don't do English too well, huh? I don't do English too well in these sciences. نعم. So make it much easier. محدد الفاصل بين الراوي والواعي. محدث الفاصل. Can take the notes later. نعم. So it's like Sarhan start for this one. So for now, take the notes later. نعم. So محدث الفاصل, the first of those books that was written concerning Ilm Al-hadeeth by one of the ulama, that his name is Hassan ibn Abdul Rahman ibn Khalad Ramahurmuzi. Ra, so it is Ra Mahur Muzi. Ramahurmuzi. So the first one to write in that particular science, and he died 360. 360. Now, so that's concerning of the first. This is the book that became the first book that is said to have been written relating to Ilm Al-Hadeeth, specifically about Ilm Al-Hadeeth. Now, written by Muhaddith Al-Fasil. Muhaddith Al-Fasil Baina Al-Rawi Wal-Wa'i. Now, that's the name in brief. Now, and the book has been printed years ago, and then of recent, about last year, it has been reprinted, a much better print. Now, or checking and verification. But of the book they consider to be of the first of those, and Ramahurmuzi rahimahullah, of ulama who is known for lugha wal adab more than he's known for hadith. He's known more for al-lugha wal adab than he's known for hadith. But he started like the process regarding, and the book became the first of those. And you know that the book, you may have it didn't cover some of the main things regarding Ilm Al-Hadeeth, but he started the process. So of the main topics or masahil related to Ilm Al-Hadeeth may not been covered in the book, but it started the process. Now, some of the things that you can somewhat discuss much concerning adab al-rawi, the manners of the rawi, you can somewhat went into detail. So not some to say mustawhib, it doesn't per se, it's not one, it is very comprehensive in the topics that he discussed regarding Ilm Al-Hadeeth, but it covers some matters. Now, so obviously he mentioned adab al-rawi, wal-muhaddith, turuk al-tahammul wal-ada, wal-ba'd and other matters. But they said go into certain of the main topics, topics regarding Ilm Al-Hadeeth, but he started the process and covered some aspect of things. So when that was done, that became the first of those books. The second, as they mentioned, Ibn Hajar rahimahullah.
You see the topics, you mean them 4 points that you mentioned?
Yeah, those 4, he didn't cover all of those things. Right. You understand? Going over. So you might have said, so didn't cover all those topics. Now, but some things were covered. But he started the process. Then after him came Abu Abdullah Al-Hakim Al-Naysaburi. Abi Abdullah Al-Hakim Naysaburi, and he died 405. That's not so he died 405 Al-Hijri. And Hakim rahimahullah, when he came that that he wrote his book that also again trying to cover some of the masail regarding Ilm Al-Hadeeth, and the book that he wrote became known as Ma'rifa Ulum Al-Hadeeth. Ma'rifatu Ulumi Al-Hadeeth. So that became the second of those books. We may not discuss all that Ibn Hajar mentioned, some of the main ones. Does have an idea? So I mentioned concerning Abu Al-Hakim of those concerned. Now Hakim also is the author of Mustadrak. Now, so Ulum al-Hadith, but also wrote a separate regarding Ilm al-Hadith. Now, that book also was of the attempts regarding Ilm al-Hadith. There are some little points regarding that in per se, the book of Hakim, rahimahullah, لكنه لم يؤذب ولا يرتب. It wasn't per se a book that was, we know today, everything was done in an organized structure. That the topics that they are related to each other. It was topics were like somewhat scattered. Now, so it wasn't like, as we know, everything in a certain type of order, everything is connected with each other. It wasn't like that. Something that maybe ikhtisar, he went in detail, but some things that maybe could have been done a little bit different. But either of those who wrote this book, and this book also became an important book in Ilm al-Hadith. Now, so that was of those efforts regarding that particular book of one of the ulama or Mashaykh of contemporary time, that he have gone to the book. I would say the book was not per se murattib, not very done in a organized, sequential way. He came and did it. Now, trying to organize the book. Then of those ones who shared in this particular effort regarding a particular matter, we're going to skip some of them. They will mention Kifaya. So the book Al-Kifaya, as referred to as في قوانين الرواة or روايات. Riwayah. So I mentioned concerning so the book generally known as Kifaya, and that book was written by Khatib Al-Baghdadi. Khatib Al-Baghdadi, and he wrote many books, but regarding Ilm al-Hadith. But of those ones that stand out or get a lot of attention regarding this book, Al-Kifaya fi Qawanin Ar-Riwaya. And also he wrote a second book that also became an important book. So you have book number 1, book number 2 that stand out. Al-Jami' لأخلاق الراوي وآداب السامع, and also Al-Adab السامع. Now, so this book, the first book is more concerning Ilm al-Mustalah, as referred to, Ilm al-Hadith. This one is regarding the Adab of the Talib al-Hadith, and it's in 2 volumes.
Who is it again?
Khatib and the author, Khatib Al-Baghdadi. Al-Khatib Al-Baghdadi. And Khatib Al-Baghdadi, rahimahullah, he wrote, I said, Ibn Hadith also, within the various sciences, he wrote on a lot of those sciences independently. None, but these 2 became the one, so these 2 concerning of those regarding Al-Kifaya and also Al-Jami' لأخلاق الراوي وآداب السامع, regards the most of the second one regarding the adab of the talib al-ilm regarding hadith. As ilm al-hadith, the person who study hadith, then the expectation regarding your adab, they have their own, we said, their own adab. They expect you to behave and to conduct yourself as a carrier of hadith. So they have certain guidelines regarding if you're a carrier of hadith, then these are the expectations regarding you, regarding your adab and your mannerism and how you function. You're not just left as you are. And sometimes you could be weak in hadith, you could be rejected because you fall short in that area. You could be rejected, you could have the most knowledge. If you fall short in that area, sometimes you could be rejected because things are looked at in a strict way. If you say you represent Islam, you can't just say I have the knowledge but you don't represent it. That it's not accepted. You say you believe, you accept this, you have knowledge of this, then you have to behave in a certain way. If not, then this can tarnish your reputation. So since you have ilm, then you have to live by it. And with the adab first and foremost. So he wrote those books regarding that particular matter. Then others who came, Sahib Al-Qadi Iyad Al-Ilma', that he wrote regarding more concerning Turk al-Tahammul wal-Ada, how to carry hadith, how to listen to hadith, and how to collect it and how to narrate it. So he wrote regarding that particular matter. So you have other books, most of these books in the early days, that they were all books that were musnada, even though all these books have all the isnad. So if you mention hadith or athar, you'll mention it with an isnad, as that was the tradition. That was the traditional way that books were written up until that time.
What year did Baghdadi die?
Al-Khatib Al-Baghdadi.
What year was his death? Is it after the second one? Was it after 405 or?
He did after that. He did 464. 464. Al-Khatib Al-Baghdadi. Sorry, 463 was the time for that Khatib al-Baghdadi rahimullah that he died. But said after those books were all musnada. So that's concerned them, so it can somewhat took that shape. And most of these books, you understand, they may not sometimes cover most or all of the main topics of Imam, but they give you a good enough understanding. But they may miss a few things here and there. And the tartib, the sequence, the order may be a little bit somewhat not as organized as how we would become what people have expected. Now, then at that point, things can then take a different shape regarding Ilm al-Hadith. And that shape, it changed when Abu Amr Ibn Salah came into, which is 643. So Ibn Salah rahimahullah, during that time, so after all these ones came, and the ulama mentioned concerning his books of Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, that all the ulama all agreed concerning his books became a reference. We will mention a few of them, but he had many other books in Ilm al-Hadith. So his books, Khatib al-Baghdadi, his works in Ilm al-Hadith, his books become a reference because he wrote many books in Ibn Hadith as books, separate books. So his work became an important reference that everyone will go back to and benefit from. But then Ibn Salah rahimahullah came about and then also contributed to the science. And then everything can somewhat, it went in a different direction with Ibn Salah. In the sense of when Ibn Salah rahimahullah came, and wrote his book, that Ibn Salah rahimahullah, of those concerning Ibn Salah became somewhat known. He's known for other sciences. But Ibn Salah rahimahullah, he used to be of those like a teacher. And he used to have lessons. So if you know Arba'in al-Nawawiyya. Arba'in al-Nawawiyya, he's the person who initiated that. So Arba'in al-Nawawiyya, he used to have a lesson. He used to teach Hadith al-Kulliyat. Selected hadith, innama al-amal bin-niyat, those type of hadith. So he used to explain those hadiths. Then, so in doing so the Arba'in that you find, the first 20-something hadith was what he started the process. Then died. Then now rahimahullah came and then added another remaining 20-something to make it 42 hadith. As Arba'in actually is 40-something hadith. But it was what Ibn Salah started, reached up to a certain point, then and now rahimahullah came and continued and made Arba'in. With me? So it wasn't something that was initiated in everything, started what? With An-Nawawi. He can somewhat continue something that someone had started. which was Ibn Salah. So you used to have like in the masjid, like open lessons, so he used to explain Hadith and Imla. So the same thing he used to do with Mustalah. So like a teacher, professor, and he would like prepare the topic and then read it out to his students. And then they start to be collected. And that was how aspect of Ibn Hadith now went into a different phase regarding the approach of Ibn Salah. And the book of Ibn Salah referred to as many things, Muqaddimah Ibn Salah, but the book it is Ma'rifah, Anwa, Ulum Al-Hadeeth. Ma'rifah, Anwa, Ulum Al-Hadeeth. This pen can sound because it doesn't write too well for me. Now, I use that one that have a flat top. It doesn't have a flat top. But Ibn Salah, rahimahullah, then can somewhat benefit from all those ones who preceded him and condense certain things and put certain things. And so he now came and looked at what was done before, and as teacher of the science, then he started to take and kind of somewhat. So he wrote this book, or put this book together, Ma'rifah Anwa'i Ulum Al-Hadeeth. And this book, after it was written, it became the standard book of Ilm Al-Hadith up until today. It became the standard. It became the standard. People, in a sense of everyone who came after him, the book somewhat connected back to this book. After his time, after his death in the 6th century, mid-6th century, everyone who came after him in Ilm al-Hadith, it has some connection to his work.
How many volumes is that book?
That's like one volume. The book is one volume. So he discussed concerning, like you have an introduction, discussed different, but the book became the standard bearer of Ilm al-Hadith after then. So the sentence said, everyone, either those who explain the book, those who put it to a nazam, those who make ikhtisar, those who make ikhtisar, make a summary of his book. Now some who try to understand, so all of those things have been done. Now, but everything in one way or another relates back to this book. Ibn Hajar who even came and tried, still what he did concerning An-Nuqatul Fiqh, still have a connection to this book. Try to reorganize things in a simplified way, but still connected to this. So most or the main books of Hadith that came after all connect back to this book. So you might have, for example, An-Nawawi came and make an ikhtisar of this book. Then someone come and explain his book and put it into X volumes. But everything somewhat connects back to this. The book of Sakhawi, Fathul Mughith. Now, so you have certain books that are, so this book becomes, we said, the standard that everyone who came after somewhat linked back to this work of Ibn Salah in Ilm al-Hadith. Now, so it says, no, you have many who explain the book. Ibn Hajar himself have a few explanations, but after those one, An-Nuqat, you have many tahqiq, we said tahqiq of this book itself. Mahir, you have different people have done work, type of thing. You also have those of try to explain the book. Ibn Hajar have a book called Nuqat ala Ibn Salah. Nam, that is out there. Many others who have different Az-Zarkashi also have a Nuqat on this book. So you have different people who have done different works in some way or another. Now, I can give a lot of a list of books that all relate back to this book. I would say became the standard bearer. Now, so that's concerned, sir. That from that point, then become the standard. Then you have some of the masahil that is mentioned, maybe still discussed now between the ulama, and some of these things, though, even though it says it's still Ilm al-Hadith. Still, certain things is somewhat still open for some discussion regarding certain mustalahat. So the door is still not fully closed yet regarding the science of Ilm al-Hadith. And that's why sometimes I find different to the ulama regarding their grading on particular hadith. And even discussion regarding some of the mabadit of ilm al-hadith. Because some stuff is still under discussion. And all those things said, no, in today's day you find that. And so Ibn al-Hadith going to that stages. After Ibn Salah, many wrote concerning Ibn Mustalah Al-Iraqi and all of those of the ulama of the past. Then after a while, Ibn al-Hadith became Ibn al-Hadith in general for in our contemporary time, like the book that is here, over a long time ago, this book became like a book that became a simplified way of putting Ilm al-Hadith. Taysir, Mustalah Al-hadeeth. Now, written by one of a contemporary, but a book of me about over 30 or something years would have been written. And at that time were the early ones in trying to attempt to simplify Ilm al-Hadith. This one. Now, Taysir, Mustalah Al-Hadeeth by Sheikh Dr. Mahmoud Tohan. And it's somewhat been translated. So you go online, I find it translated either the full thing or a summary somewhat. And they have just discussion about that book itself. It's the next discussion. Now, but the book for all the years been printed, and how many new prints, nothing new in it. And Ibn al-Hadith in our time now have gone to a next level. That is book, it didn't keep up with the new research works and papers and books. That something that is mentioned may need to be reviewed in that book. Clear? So that's concerning the science. But said that also in studying of Ilm al-Hadith, in a summarized introduction type of way, is in any of these science regarding Ilm al-Mustalah, in Usul al-Fiqh, bear in mind that it takes a certain mind. Because we deal with theories, so the person after it, as I said, Ilm al-Hadith is not, Ilm al-Hadith in general is not for boys. It's a subject for men. Ilm al-Hadith is not a subject for boys. It's a subject, is a science for men. And they tell that that's of the general rule. So you look at Ilm al-Hadith, you understand? Know that you have to be prepared and ready. Just as Usul al-Fiqh and the likes. So in discussing concerns, the general thing concerning the ulama of hadith, they will discuss the general pattern regarding that. We'll start maybe next week to go into some of these things. Also to make what is ilm al-hadith, taqsim al-hadith into different aqsam, sahih, hasan, daif, then going through all the different types of hadith al-daif, that hadith can become daif due to, and hadith can somewhat due to certain factors, going through those factors, and the books Jar wa Ta'dil, the qawaid and the usul of Jar wa Ta'dil that are there. What's the requirement for a person that you can speak on regarding the science? What's the criteria you must have for what you're saying can be taken? But remember in Islam, not everyone who speak, even the name of alim, he may be a person in that matter where what you say actually it bears any weight. So know who, when they speak, it carries weight. And that will mean the person fulfills certain criteria. So you look to the criteria and say, what's the criteria of this person? We said a mujtahid. What the books of Usul al-Fiqh mention regarding who's a mujtahid? If you're not to the criteria, then there are certain things you shouldn't speak about. Just as Ilm al-Hadith. When I talk about Hadith, we said if you have gone through those 4 areas, then be mindful of the person that you're taking from. But also give you a guide regarding how to maneuver regarding this science. And know what is acceptable and what is not. And who are the people when they speak with authority, and who doesn't. So sometimes a person, I believe, you say you have that mustalahat that is used as al-qab. That person is a muhaddith. Then if I ask the person, Okay, these words are used loosely, and I'll say this openly, used loosely. And something is that if you ask a person and say this person is a muhaddith, no problem. Who is a muhaddith? That's all you ask the person. This person is a faqih, no problem. Who is considered to be a faqih? Shar'an. Not Sarasara, Mustalah istilahan. Who is the person who is said to be a muhaddith? If you can define to me who's a muhaddith, then we can have a discussion. If you can define to me who is a faqih, then we can start to have a discussion to see if he's not the faqih, what's the criteria to see does he fulfill it? If he doesn't, then move him on the side. You with me? So sometimes you find that things, because a person may say the person muhaddith, alama, no problem. Because he have, not necessarily a person explain the book in hadith, he becomes a muhaddith. The person who has ta'qeeq of a book in hadith in Mustalah doesn't mean he automatically become a muhaddith. You with me? So there's other things that are factored in. And that's with all the science. Because I know I've memorized a few fatwa, that I become a faqih? No. You understand? So regarding a person who's said to be the alim, the specialist, there's criteria that have been established from long time ago. Yes, sometimes those criteria, some people, ulama, they are mutashaddid in those criteria, that you have criteria that no one can fulfill, especially in the books of usul al-fiqh. If you were to fulfill the criteria and the qualification in the books of usul al-fiqh, most of the people today would not fulfill the criteria. From the top ones we're talking, that people say these are the top of the ulama, the cream of the crop today, would not fulfill their criteria. And that's the reality. But we're not saying that's the case, because those ones sometimes will go mutashaddid in the criteria. They become difficult for anyone to fulfill it. But if we look at most of the basic criteria, a lot of people, you understand, for example, a person in a hadith, Ahmed Shakir rahimahullah, one of the ulama of Misr, of hadith, and his brother called Mahmoud, and their father is a judge, or they were, Ahmed Shakir was a judge and had some hadith. He said in their studies with their father, before they start off the thing that they studied, if you understand that, they studied Kutubu Sitta. They had to study that book first before they start to go into other things. Before they start to specialize in a particular field, I want to incline towards hadith, I want to incline towards fiqh, I want to incline towards tafsir, no problem. The first thing they have to go through Kutubu Sitta. Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, At-Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah, Nasa'i. Before you start to branch out into whatever else you want to go, you have to cover those books. And that's a basic criteria for a muhaddith. That's a basic criteria. With other things, Kutubu Tissa. I know what Kutubu Tissa is. Kutubu Tissa in two sets of Kutubu Tissa in al-Fuqaha or Kutubu Tissa in the Muhaddithin. Kutubu Tissa is 9 books with the Muhaddithin, and you have 9 books of hadith with the Fuqaha. And all of them are hadith related. Now, but the criteria then is completely different from now. So the system of studying today concerning hadith, you start with Bukhari, you start with those books. Today they set the criteria to start with Umdatul Ahkam, Nail Autar, and become a faqih. Okay. You understand? So, in some...
The bar's dropped.
The bar has been dropped to some degree. The bar has been dropped. And because when the bar will drop, then everyone is able to can. You understand? So a person today may have the word that I'm a professor, I'm a doctor. But it doesn't mean that he's an alim. It doesn't mean he's an alim. It doesn't mean that you have acquired a degree through the system that we have today. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're an alim. Just as you're a person who's an alim who doesn't have no degree. Doesn't have no degree. At all. Ibn Salah mentioned he was in a sitting with all different people. This person degree in this person degree, da. So I asked him, you down in Lugha, explain to me this. And the person was stuck. Because he just studied an aspect of Lugha. You understand? He just studied, that person of a degree in Lugha, just studied an aspect of Lugha. But he doesn't know Lugha. You understand? And that's what we have today. The university has its purpose, but sometimes it leaves the person somewhat, it can be a bit imbalanced. So before the person becomes a specialist in a particular field, then there's certain things that you have to cover regarding all the science. There's a minimum bar that before you can go into specialization, you have to cover that minimum, which will cover everything. I'm not talking the minimum concerned to you study Nuqbatul Fiqh and you become a muhaddis. That doesn't exist in reality. You with me? But, so I said that regarding the development of Ibn Hadith, regarding that how it went. So the main people of those who, you understand, we have the book of Ibn Salah, Ibn Hajar Rahimullah, of a name, that also of a authority in the science, and also his contribution after, so the one of our main contributor after Ibn Salah will be Ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani. Then after them, so after the main ones, so the main contributors overall in Ibn Hadith, you'll have Ibn Hajar, Ibn Salah, and you have Khatib Al-Baghdadi, and also Al-Hakim. Those books. Those will be the books in a sense of, for you to really, in studying Hadith, if you haven't gone through those books at least, then you still yet haven't done what is needed to be done. And we are guilty of that. You understand? So it says, so that's concerning the introduction regarding this. We'll stop there, inshallah ta'ala, and we'll continue next week.